So today I'm sharing with you 2 homeschool resources that kind of go together and a giveaway. Hi, welcome. Thanks for joining me today. So today I want to share with you 2 books that I have been reading recently. One is 8 Great Smarts for Homeschoolers, and the other one, I'll put a picture up here, is just 8 Great Smarts. They're by 2 different authors, but they're on the same theory, and this is kind of written after this 8 Great Smarts as a reflection of how to use the theory in this book with homeschoolers. So I also have a giveaway today. Tina Hollenbeck, the author of the 8 Great Smarts for Homeschoolers, has generously agreed to send an autographed copy of her book to one of my viewers. So if you stick around towards the end of this video, I'll be sharing the giveaway information for that. I also have a few notes down here. So if you see me looking down, I just have some things that I want to make sure I don't miss and that I want to share with you. So I have a copy of each of these books myself, a physical copy, but I lent my copy of the 8 Great Smarts to actually both of my books to my sister before I realized that I needed them for making this video. So I was able to get this one from the library to kind of have something physical to show you, but the other one I couldn't get. So I do own both of these books, but I just didn't have them on hand because I lent them out. I thought they were useful. And so I'm sharing them with you because I think they're useful. So, all right. So to get started. Okay. So like I said, this 8 Great Smarts for Homeschooler was really built off of the 8 Great Smarts by Kathy Koch. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. And her book basically is sharing the theory of the 8 Great Smarts. So instead of kind of how people used to perceive like left brain, right brain, where you had people who were like musically talented, I forget which side was which, and people who were like mathematically talented or logical, they're kind of moving away from that. And she was sharing a new kind of study of how people's brains work and how people are smart, how their brains think, how they process information. And so she was sharing in reference to our children and raising children, not just education, but she includes education in there. But so the 8 Great Smarts, let's see if I can just find them in here so I can list them for you. Okay, here we go. There's word smart, logic smart, picture smart, music smart, body smart, nature smart, people smart, and self smart. Now, I am not one of those people who's like, everybody's got to have the golden medal or a participation medal, or we can't acknowledge that somebody has a gift that somebody else doesn't. So that's not where this is coming from. But I have seen this as useful in my own perception of my own children. So basically, let me see if I can summarize her theory for you. Or not her theory, but kind of the scientific theory surrounding this, is that different people's brains process information differently, they retain information differently, and they are smart differently. And they're deliberately choosing that word because some of the smart, so like the word smart and logic smart, are things that would very obviously show up within like the education circle. So a kid who's word smart is somebody who really retains words, who learns through words, who can process through words. So somebody who does language arts really well, who picks up reading really fast. Those would be some of the strengths that they would have. Somebody who's logic smart would be really good at math. And so some of those smarts would show up really clearly when you're educating, and they would be the children that you would think of as typically smart kids who are ahead, kids who are advanced, who are smart. And some of the other skills like people smart or nature smart wouldn't show up so dramatically on your education side, although they can be included in that. And so people tend to think of those people as not as smart. And basically she's saying we're looking at this all wrong. It's not that they're not smart. It's that their brain is processing the information differently. They're smart in a different way. So the kid who is really good with people, that is the way their brain, and they're not talking like introvert or extrovert here, but that is the way that their brain processes and learns and develops and retains information. That is their way of being smart. And so if you can use those and recognize your child's smarts, and then the ways they're not so, that their brain doesn't process information that way, you can tailor their education and your parenting toward that child to use their strengths, the way their brain does think, to teach and to learn, but also to help build up the areas that they have difficulty in. So if your child does have difficulty with logic, you can use their people smarts along with their logic smarts to help strengthen that side. So I have found this useful for myself. I have found that my older child is academically advanced. in your typical sense. She's really good with words. She flew through her reading program in kindergarten, is reading first to second grade level, like smart. She's good with math. She's logical. She can think things sequentially. And so really typically she, like when I talk about where she's at, people are like, wow, she's really far ahead. And she is. And in the past, I've approached that as, well, my first daughter is really advanced and my second daughter just not so much. Versus trying to see like, okay, my first daughter excels in words and logic. Like this is her area that she just connects with. And trying, instead of saying like my second daughter is just not advanced, looking at her and saying, what are the areas that my second daughter can connect with? She's really good with sequencing. She's really good with like patterns. So that would be, they would consider that like nature smart. And she's young, so her what she thinks and how her brain works hasn't fully developed, and it's hard for me to see. But it's made me kind of shift the way I speak and the way I think to look for her strengths and try to use those in teaching her, versus just saying, she's not as smart as her older sister. And another thing they say is with this, like, kids who don't perceive themselves as smart will stop trying to be smart, or they will start thinking of themselves as dumb. Now, again, I'm not the person who's like, oh, everybody has to be equally brilliant. Some people excel at things. Like my older daughter is going to just be really good at reading, and my younger daughter may not ever be quite as good as reading, and that's okay. And it's okay for them to accept and for them to celebrate each other's strengths. So I'm not trying to say that, and that's not what this book is saying. But at the same time, if I'm constantly talking about my older daughter, she's smart, my younger daughter, oh, she's not as smart, I don't want my younger daughter to then be like, oh, I'm not smart, therefore I can't learn. Instead, I want to go, okay, but your brain thinks about things differently. So let's engage the way that thinks and use that to build up the other things that you struggle with. And they are both smart, but their brain thinks and processes and retains information differently. So that is what Kathy's book is about. And she kind of goes into the theories of the smarts and talks about what each one is. And she talks about some of the challenges that you'll encounter parenting, some of the character pitfalls that you might run into. She does broach education. So she kind of talks about different nuances of parenting. And it is written from a Christian perspective, if I'm remembering correctly. So just putting that out there for people, because I know not everybody is coming from the same view as I am, but you can still get the information with that, but just so you know. And I actually found that valuable because it was helpful for me. She does talk about their walk with God and their relationship with God and how you can incorporate their smarts and what their challenges are going to be with that and what you can kind of help them with. So I did actually like that. So that is kind of how her book presents. And so her book was a little bit hard for me to read in that I didn't enjoy the read so much. But I really felt like the information was useful for me. So that was kind of interesting. So it's like one of those books that when I recommend, I'm like, well, I didn't enjoy reading it, but I thought it was valuable and I think it's valuable for you. So I would say that it wasn't like a book that I really connected with when I was reading, but I walked away going, I feel like there was some value in it for me to read. And like I said, it has helped me shift a little bit the way I'm thinking and the way I'm trying to study my children, pay attention. And she also has on her website, or she has a link to a website where you can take an assessment for your child, or they can take the assessment for themselves to kind of help you see which smarts they might have as their strengths and which ones are their weaker ones. So it kind of helps you with that. This book, The 8 Great Smarts for Homeschoolers, takes that 8 Great Smarts theory, and it doesn't discuss the theory or about it so much, but it breaks it down into some just practical, useful tips for homeschoolers. So the chapters are all about the different studies in school, and homeschool. So math, language arts, science, social studies, fine arts, electives, all that. And in each chapter, she breaks down each individual smart and ways that you might be able to help them learn. Or she actually talks about each strength and how that might relate to that particular subject and how you might be able to use their strength or what their weakness will be in relation to that subject. So this is more, I would say the 8 Great Smarts is more of I don't want to say theoretical, but it's more discussing the theory, the ideas, and then some broader aspects of parenting and some just, here are some things to look for. Here are some weaknesses, some strengths, all that. And this is more, like you can say, deliberately targeted to homeschoolers as practical tips to implement that theory. And I will say I enjoyed reading this one much more. It's pretty short. It was a short, easy read. I didn't feel like it was slow or dragged me down. I enjoyed the actual read of this one. And actually, I will say I read this one first, which I know is probably not the order you should read them. But I actually enjoyed this even just by itself. So if you're not interested in the whole thing, this actually was a really good read, even just on its own. She also has a roadmap tool on her website that has resources for parents trying to find curriculum or resources for their kids for homeschooling. So I'm going to link that below. It's like the resource roadmap or something like that. So check it out because it might be a great resource for you. But now to the giveaway information. So like I said, Tina has agreed to send an autographed copy of her book to one of you. Super generous of her, and thank you, Tina. So in order to enter the giveaway, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below either if you've ever read this book or the 8 Great Smarts book and your thoughts, or another teacher resource that you find useful in your homeschool. So comment that below. And then in about a week, 5 days to a week, I'll announce the winner of this video. I'll comment directly on your comments, so you'll get a notification, and I'll try to contact you as much as possible, and we will be giving this away. So I'm excited for that. So go ahead and do those things so that you can be entered. And then if you don't win this book or you don't want to go buy it, I would recommend checking out your library because, like I said, both of these books were in my library system, easily accessible. So I would highly recommend checking them out, looking and seeing if they're useful. They may not be. It may not be something that you find helpful for you, but I think it could be helpful for a lot of parents out there who are struggling with, especially who are struggling with one child that seems to excel and one that doesn't, or even just one that doesn't, and just the way that you talk to them about it and the way that you approach. It also actually helped with my older daughter because she is gifted in things that are more academically obvious. It really helped when I talked to her about her struggles, or when I talked to her about it. Instead of boosting her up as, oh, you're so smart, which is not bad for her to perceive herself as smart, but we don't need to boost. But there's ways of approaching it. I have started approaching like, you are very gifted. You are smart in words. Like, this is the way you learn. God has made your brain this way, versus like, oh, you're better than your sister. And so it's actually helped the way I speak to my daughter about it, and it's helped me challenge her because she learns so quickly with her school. She gives up super quickly as well when something is difficult. So it's helped me approach like, you're really smart in these areas. Your brain thinks this way, but because it's so easy for you, when you have hard work to do, you give up. And so it's helped me to walk her through that a little bit as well. So yeah, I would say both these books have been helpful for me, and ones that will stay on my shelf as resources, or in this case, be lent out to other people as resources. And I'm glad I have them. So check them out. Don't forget to enter the giveaway, and thanks for joining us today.